Hey everybody, Robbie here, and it is time for Robbie Rants, and today we are going to be talking about that DC Rebirth comic book. Alright gang, consider this your spoiler warning. If you haven't read DC Rebirth and you don't want it spoiled, do not watch this video. I will be spoiling DC Rebirth. It is a new comic book from DC Comics, obviously, written by Geoff Johns, who we know has done phenomenal work on comic books such as The Flash, Green Lantern, Justice Society of America. He is the architect and the genius behind a lot of stuff like Flashpoint, Infinite Crisis, a big character, a big behind-the-scenes guy at DC, very responsible, very in charge, and now a further role into DC Films, for instance, co-writing the next Batman film with Ben Affleck. He's joined on this book by artists Ivan Reyes, Ethan Van Sciver, Phil Jimenez, and Gary Frank. It is a fantastic book, but let's get into why it's needed. We all know that DC is kind of like the reboot king. They like to reboot. Well, they have a history spanning over 75 years, right? So at times they need to refresh and kind of revitalize, their properties, right? So in the 80s, for instance, there was a big thing called Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it merged all this crazy jumbled multiverse, confusing stuff, 50 years of story, just crammed it all down into one Earth, and they kind of had a nice little thing happen. And then they did it again recently with the New 52 after the book Flashpoint, written by Geoff Johns. The New 52 was a more streamlined version of the DC universe. It was supposed to be more up-to-date, more current, more hip, more fresh. They were younger, things had changed, the timeline had shrunk down to only 5 years. It was just, the New 52. It kind of had a lackluster response overall. There was some really good stuff from the New 52, but overall, it was kind of like, why is DC going in this direction? So, obviously, they needed to course correct. How do you fix it? Do you do another reboot? Obviously, if DC does another complete reboot, people are going to be upset. And I'm not saying that they won't or ever again, or that this is not leading to one, but they didn't want to do it that way. So you don't do a reboot, but you do a rebirth. All right, so let's get into some of the spoilers, some of the fun stuff. Wally West is back. That's right, the pre-Flashpoint Wally West. Kid Flash became the Flash after Barry died in Crisis. He is the Flash for a lot of us. He was the Flash that was in the comics when I was growing up. He's the Flash that Mark Waid and Geoff Johns had fantastic runs on. Great stuff. Check it out if you haven't. The Justice Society is back. In fact, they always existed, but something happened to make everybody forget. So the Justice Society is back, and that's really cool too. Super pumped for that. Let's get to the big Batman reveal. He's on Metron's chair in the Darkseid War, and he has access to all kinds of knowledge, and he asks what is the true identity of the Joker, and he finds out some impossible knowledge. You find out that there are 3 Jokers. 3 Jokers? I got a really good theory about that. The idea at first was like, what? But the more I thought about it, I got a really good theory. And there's another theory that kind of ties into the Watchmen, believe it or not. Of course, you already know, because the biggest thing about this whole book is about the Watchmen. So the big reveal, obviously, is that Dr. Manhattan is pretty much the guy who came in and fucked up the DC universe and made the New 52 the way it is. He's the one that came in and made and took away things, possibly to weaken it for some reason. The Watchmen are now going to be key figures, at least Dr. Manhattan, in DC Comics for the foreseeable future. It's going to be building up to something crazy. It's going to be awesome, guys. It stinks of cheap stunt a little bit because, once again, the Watchmen, guys, seriously, do you want Alan Moore to kill somebody? Like, why? Like, do something else, right? But I really like it because I like the commentary that Geoff Johns is making. What is the problem with DC? DC has always represented true heroism, inspiration, mythology, like I said earlier. It's hope. It's been missing. It's been missing in the New 52. It's been missing for a while in superhero comics, in superhero fiction. So DC needs to get this hope. But where did the hope come from? Who stole the hope away? Well, it was the Watchmen. Now, I love the Watchmen. I think it's a great work. And Dark Knight Returns. Both of those books, though, impacted the way that superheroes are written now in fiction. And that is almost a direct result of things like the New 52, of things like just a bleaker outlook. Now, I really like this commentary, and I like that it's really, now I understand that it can seem a little weird that Geoff Johns is kind of like pointing his finger at the Watchmen, meanwhile using the Watchmen to boost sales and get hype, get people hype about DC again. people are hype about DC again. I was at work all day today and people really were responding very positively towards this. It makes people feel like hope is still going to be out there. I like his commentary on, and he said this, he was actually, I think this was USA Today or some magazine, but he said, we need to honestly take a look at the legacy of Watchmen, just like the Watchmen took an honest look at the legacy of superheroes. Watchmen changed how people portray superheroes, and DC has been impacted by that probably way more than Marvel, and we need to get that hope back. We need to get that inspiration back. We need to get the legacy of DC back. It has stood the test of time for 75 plus years for a reason. Jeff Johns wants to get back to that reason. He wants to make these characters not just fresh and relevant, but true and meaningful. And you know us here at Pop Culture Philosophers, we're all about that. Future Robbie Rants, we're going to get into the Three Joker thing, a little bit more about the Watchmen connection, and has Jeff Johns been seeding this for a little bit now? We're going to get more into the book, more into what's going to happen. We are going to be crazy covering DC Rebirth here at Pop Culture Philosophers. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know down below what you thought of DC Rebirth. Do you think it's a great direction? Are you excited about where it's going? I don't know. I want to know what you think. Please do subscribe. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for rocking with us.